And I gave her the biggest hug that I could. And when she saw me, she was like, oh man, finally somebody I see that's on my side.
Right, that can relate.
She was getting hit with everything left and right, and I just said, I hugged her, I said, I'm so proud of you.
Welcome back to the Clark Update. Today's story is creating major buzz across the WNBA, with new claims and surprising developments putting Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham in the spotlight. Fans are asking serious questions, and the latest revelations could completely change the conversation. What is really happening behind the scenes, and why is everyone talking about it? Stay with me until the very end as we break down the latest details, reactions, and everything you need to know. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into today's story. A press release or headline doesn't always tell you where a story truly begins. Sometimes, it starts with a hug. When Cheryl Miller put her arms around Caitlin Clark, it was more than simply an emotional moment caught on camera. To the outside world, it looked like an act of compassion. But to some viewers, that embrace represented something much bigger. It appeared to break through the carefully constructed silence surrounding what they believed was a troubling situation within the WNBA. To those who interpreted it that way, the hug was more than consolation. It was a statement, a sign that the situation surrounding Clark had become impossible to ignore. For months, whispers had circulated about missed fouls, silenced voices, and repeated moments in which Caitlin Clark, one of the league's most prominent young stars, appeared to be left isolated and vulnerable. As fans and commentators began questioning what they were seeing, some claimed that insiders were describing something more complicated than the normal physicality and pressure faced by a rookie. They began referring to it as Operation Balance. And when Cheryl Miller stepped forward, even if her gesture was simply an embrace, some interpreted it as confirmation of concerns they had already been discussing. They believed Clark was dealing with more than ordinary competition on the basketball court. In their view, she was also facing a system that could undermine her confidence, limit her influence, and threaten her place in the future of women's basketball. The curtain, at least from their perspective, had been pulled back, and that single moment appeared to change the conversation. But it is important to separate allegations from established facts. A hug alone does not prove that a coordinated campaign existed, and claims about an organized effort against Clark would require credible evidence to establish. Still, the controversy has raised questions about how Clark has been treated and whether the league has responded appropriately to concerns about physical play and competitive fairness. The deeper people look into the situation, the more questions emerge. Was this simply the difficult introduction that many rookies experience in professional sports, or was something more deliberate taking place? That is where the story becomes especially controversial. What some commentators describe as a carefully planned campaign remains an allegation rather than a proven fact. But the debate surrounding it has become impossible to ignore, and it has changed the way many fans are viewing the WNBA. There was allegedly a coordinated effort to limit Caitlin Clark's rise. According to the claims being circulated, leaked internal documents supposedly revealed the existence of a plan called Operation Balance. The alleged goal was to prevent any player, regardless of talent or popularity, from shifting the balance of power away from the league's established veterans. According to these claims, Operation Balance was built around three main ideas. First, limit Clark's media exposure by making sure her accomplishments were overshadowed by veteran storylines, controlling headlines, and redirecting public attention. Second, allow physical play against her without meaningful consequences, with critics arguing that referees were overlooking serious fouls and allowing excessive defense. Third, isolate her emotionally, which would arguably be more damaging than anything happening on the court by separating her from potential allies, weakening her support system, and undermining her confidence. The allegations are disturbing because they go far beyond ordinary basketball competition. This would not simply be about protecting a veteran's legacy or playing tough defense. It would represent competition being turned into a form of psychological pressure. However, these claims should be treated as allegations unless the supposed documents and evidence can be independently verified. There is a major difference between controversial treatment on the court and proof of a coordinated league-wide operation. According to the story being circulated, the alleged plan was not the work of one team or a handful of veterans. It was supposedly coordinated, systematic, and approved at levels higher than anyone expected. The theory was simple. Breaking down a rising star doesn't necessarily require one devastating incident. Instead, you gradually wear her down until she begins questioning her own confidence and ability. And that, according to the allegation, was exactly how Operation Balance was supposed to work. But the alleged weakness in the plan did not come from Clark. It supposedly came from an unguarded moment when someone close to the situation said too much. That person was Sophie Cunningham. Every alleged conspiracy has a potential breaking point, and in this version of the story, Operation Balance's weakness was supposedly a careless verbal remark. Cunningham, known for her physical style of play, allegedly revealed something that she did not realize would become significant. According to the claims, Cunningham made a revealing comment during what she believed was a private conversation, suggesting that Clark's treatment was part of a deliberate strategy rather than simply a natural part of professional basketball. One version of the story claims that Cunningham acknowledged a clear message inside the Phoenix Mercury locker room. They were going to show Clark what the WNBA was really about. At first, that could easily sound like a standard rookie initiation. Veterans challenge newcomers, physical competition increases, and players try to establish themselves. But the interpretation changes if the alleged wording was genuinely about sending a predetermined message rather than simply competing. Under that interpretation, Phoenix was not preparing for an ordinary basketball game. The team was allegedly preparing to participate in something much more deliberate. The story portrays the Phoenix game as a testing ground for Operation Balance. Instead of isolated fouls or normal competitive intensity, every physical encounter would supposedly have been part of a larger effort to determine how much pressure Clark could withstand without crossing an obvious line. Every hard hit, every hostile exchange, and every foul that went uncalled would then be interpreted as another piece of the alleged strategy. But again, that interpretation depends entirely on evidence that has not been established here. Without verified documents or credible independent confirmation, the existence of Operation Balance remains an allegation rather than a proven fact. This is where the story is presented as becoming undeniable. According to the claims, Cunningham's alleged disclosure closely matches the language, patterns, and intentions described in the supposed leaked materials. Phoenix, in this version of events, was not acting alone. It was allegedly the first link in a chain that extended across the league. Several alleged insiders claimed that similar instructions were given to at least 6 other teams. The message was supposedly consistent across multiple locker rooms: protect the veterans, isolate the rookie, and never allow Caitlin Clark's growing popularity to completely disrupt the existing hierarchy. If those claims were true, moments that initially appeared random would take on an entirely different meaning. Hard contact to the ribs, questionable trips, and teammates seemingly failing to support Clark during difficult moments would no longer look like ordinary growing pains. They would appear to be deliberate actions in a game Clark never agreed to play. And according to this narrative, all of it was supposedly exposed because of Cunningham's careless remark. For months, fans had been discussing these theories online. Now, they believed one comment had provided the confirmation they were looking for. Clark wasn't simply facing intense competition, they argued. She was allegedly walking into a situation designed to challenge her from the moment she arrived. But even if words can be interpreted as evidence of intent, the next question is whether the statistics actually support the claim. Rumors can be dismissed. Private conversations can be disputed. Alleged leaked documents can be challenged. But numbers provide something more concrete to examine. And according to the statistics being cited, Caitlin Clark's rookie season raises some serious questions. In 2024, Clark reportedly averaged 4.5 personal fouls drawn per game, an unusually high figure for a rookie. Rookies often experience more physical defense as they adjust to the professional game, but critics argue that Clark's experience went beyond what should be considered normal. The most dramatic claim involves flagrant fouls. According to the figures presented in this narrative, Clark was the target of 17.1% of the league's flagrant fouls. If accurate, that would certainly be a striking statistic, but it does not automatically prove coordination or intent. A statistical imbalance can raise questions, but proving that it resulted from a league-wide plan requires considerably more evidence. It is similar to flipping a coin and repeatedly getting the same result. A long streak can make you question whether the process is truly random, but you still need additional evidence before concluding that the coin was deliberately manipulated. The argument also goes beyond the number of fouls and focuses on when those incidents occurred. Critics claim that some of the most controversial contact happened during critical moments, when Clark was heating up offensively, when Indiana was gaining momentum, or immediately after a major highlight. If that pattern were independently established, it would certainly deserve examination. Physical plays that repeatedly occur at pivotal moments can have both physical and psychological effects on a player. Even Clark's first WNBA basket became part of the broader debate surrounding how her arrival was handled. Instead of treating the emergence of a highly anticipated young star as a league-wide opportunity, critics argue that some opponents immediately responded with increased physicality. According to the narrative, the more Clark demonstrated that she belonged, the more intense the physical attention became. And that leads to the next major allegation. According to the supposed leaked communications, Operation Balance did not end once Clark demonstrated that she could withstand the physical pressure. Instead, the alleged strategy supposedly evolved. The idea was no longer simply to hit harder. It was to apply pressure in different ways. According to the story, the alleged plan consisted of 4 deliberate stages, each supposedly designed to push Clark toward her breaking point. Phase 1. Physical intimidation. This was allegedly the most obvious stage. The objective was supposedly to make the rookie feel the physical demands of professional basketball and question whether her body could withstand them. Late elbows, excessive contact, hard screens, and aggressive defensive plays were allegedly allowed to continue without consistent punishment. The message, according to this interpretation, was simple: you don't belong here. But again, physical basketball alone is not proof of a coordinated operation. To establish that claim, the alleged documents and communications would need to be independently verified. Phase 2. Media suppression. And this is where the alleged strategy would become much more difficult to identify, because instead of attacking Clark physically, the supposed plan would focus on controlling the narrative surrounding her.